Book 24 of 2020 was Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. So I bought this book because it was about time, and if you've seen my other reviews, you'll know how much I love books about time, as long as they're good, obviously. This one is very good, really enjoyed it. I was like, thank God there's a new book that's actually about time, that's actually good, because there's so few of them. This book, even from the first page, I was just like, I already know it's going to be good. I can just tell. I just get this feeling when you read the first page of whether it's like great or not, because you just want to carry on reading. Blake Crouch's writing style is such that it kind of propels you through the pages. It kind of reminded me of when I first discovered Dan Brown and I started reading kind of like Da Vinci Code and all of those different books, because there's just something like that makes you want to kind of carry on. Like I literally read this book, and it's quite a big book, in 2 days. Like I just sat and read it, and I only put it down because I needed to go to sleep, you know. So it was really good. It also reminded me of Gillian Flynn, Girl on a Train. You know, the same kind of like wanting to kind of find out what's going on. So it was good in that sense. But obviously it's nothing like those other two, because those other two are kind of more, there's kind of like, well, I suppose it's a little bit like that. I mean, it's a thriller, so it's kind of similar in that sense. But this one's different because this one addresses like Robert Frost's philosophical musings of the road not taken, and comes to the same conclusion, which it doesn't really make much difference which path you choose, because you're the one that's on that path. And it's got, because it's obviously called Dark Matter, it's underpinned by physics and about time travel and the multiverse, and that kind of really helps the plot, because you find out kind of what's going on in relation to that, so it adds kind of another dimension to it. It's not like your boring thriller where, you know, someone gets murdered and all that kind of stuff. Like there's more to it than that, so it felt a little bit more intellectual, which I like. And it kind of also addresses like identity, and how identity is quite fractious and quite multifaceted, and how, you know, the kind of question of time travel is, would you be the same individual if you were to come back, or go into another time and come back, and you wouldn't? And I really like that. I watched recently on Netflix a series called The Travellers, and they did a similar thing. There's one of the travellers had to like reset, and she wasn't the same person when she came back, because she was resetting from the point that she travelled, and yet she'd had a whole kind of life that she's had to reset from. So it's quite interesting actually that it was in two things at the same time that I was reading and watching. So it kind of addresses that, which was good, because obviously Blake Crouch is aware of time travel and from a physics perspective what that would mean. So, you know, like I said before, it kind of intellectualized the narrative a bit, which I like. And the middle did get a little bit repetitive because, spoiler, they kind of get trapped in a multiverse, and they kind of have to try and find a particular universe, and they can't find it, and they have to go through different universes to discover whether it's the right one or not. And so they go through quite a lot of different universes before they get back to the initial one, and it takes forever and it's quite repetitive, and I understand why it's necessary and why it needs to be in there, but it was boring to read it, and I was like, oh, for God's sake, they're in another universe, like get back to the kind of original one. And it's funny because there's a twist at the end which is really interesting and really like, wow, like yeah, that would happen, and I hadn't really thought about that before. So that was kind of really interesting, but it was a little bit farcical. So I was like, but I can forgive it for those things, because the initial, you know, stages of it was great, and I wanted to read it, and I liked that it had all kind of like the physics and the multiverse and things like that in it, and the time travel in, which I love. So yeah, really good book. And he does another one after this one called Recursion, and I'm definitely going to read that. So I enjoyed it that much. So I would definitely recommend it as a read, particularly if you like thrillers, because it's a typical, you know, thriller. So yeah.